There's a lot of reasons to love Jay St. Clair. I mean, you guys know I love him to death. He's my best friend. My legal go-to, my life consultant, my gambling buddy, my golf partner. But there's another reason today to love him, because Jay is here with Fri Jay. If Jay were not here, I would feel compelled to let you listen to Kamala Harris and her economic speech that she's delivering right now out of Raleigh, North Carolina. But because we have Jay on the line, we don't have to do that. So it's another a bullet dodged. Another reason to love Jay St. Clair. Hey, Jay, we're going to try under the Harris. I know this is not necessarily the reason we have you on to talk with us, but I know you monitor this. We're going to have price controls again. Do you remember Nixon's price controls back in the early 70s? I don't quite remember those.
Yeah, it's like gas. Well, you don't remember gas lines snaking around gas stations for blocks.
I don't.
And that was when they did gas rationing. And, this was all when I was in college. This is right about the time I learned about Milton Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually wrote a paper for the University of Tennessee when I was there. I was some kind of page out for the summer. And it was the paper was about, it was for the state. And the question we were analyzing is what would happen if they put price controls on gasoline at the state of Tennessee. Apparently they were considering it. And so I know a lot about that subject. And the short answer is that it would be a disaster.
Milton Friedman, I pulled this quote. I actually pulled it yesterday, and I saved it for today because I knew I'd be talking about Harris's proposals. Milton Friedman said, "We economists don't know much, but we know how to create a shortage. If you want to create a shortage of tomatoes, just pass a law that retailers can't sell tomatoes for more than 2 cents a pound. Instantly, you'll have a tomato shortage." I mean, he's right. He's right.
Well, I was just reading about him this morning. There was a lot of people that say he made, well, there's difference in opinion. I get it. But a lot of people say he was the greatest economic mind in the history of the world. One of his greatest quotes, I thought, was, if you put the federal government in charge of the Sahara Desert, in 5 years, there would be a shortage of sand.
It's true. Oh, it's true. But Harris says she's going to work to pass a federal ban on price gouging on food. And one thing we might have going for us, I was doing a little research and I thought of you this morning, that most likely what she's going to use as a model is this Elizabeth Warren thing that she co-sponsored in 2020. Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. And the legislation in 2020, because they've been very vague on this, but in 2020, it would ban, quote, any grossly excessive price during any atypical disruption of the market. Now, everything is, the devil's always in the definitions, right? And so when you look for a definition of those terms, they don't provide them. Rather, they say that the bill empowers the Federal Trade Commission to enforce the bans using metrics it deems appropriate.
Yep.
Now, I thought of this, Jay, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if I'm an attorney and let's say this thing gets passed, could I not argue? I mean, isn't the Chevron decision important in terms of?
Yes.
I mean, couldn't I argue they're not allowed to do that anymore?
I am so glad you connected those dots, man, because this is a hobby horse of mine that I've been talking about for many years.
Yes, I mean it has been on your mind for as long as I've known you.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and thank you for connecting those dots. And yes, they've been passing laws like this for decades. Well, I don't know that they can do that. I mean, they can still pass the regulation, but it may not stand up. Where they need to get to the point where they quit passing laws that gives the real legislative authority to the bureaucrats and put it in the law. And so, no, you're right on the bullseye, my friend, and that just makes me like you that much more.
Well, I appreciate that, but I just listen. And you were on this years ago. I remember you saying that the problem is that the lawmakers are too lazy or too unwilling to do the hard work, to define the terms and to get into the details, and they slough that off to the executive branch. And it's one of the reasons that I recognized at the time that it happened how important Chevron was to the future of the bloat within the federal government.
Yeah. No, it's just very well said.
Let's talk to a few folks. Let me see. I'll do that real quick to lock Jay in. And let's talk to Ron in Beech Grove, who has a thought or a question for our man, Jay St. Clair. Hello, Ron.
Yes, I have a question. I'm 74 years old, and I have a beautiful wife, and we've been together 24 years, but we're not legally married. Mm-hmm. And she has a son, which I don't really get along. Could he, if she was to pass away, could he come in here and take her part of the house and land?
Well, she needs to have a will. Even though you aren't legally married, there is this concept of being common law married. And if y'all have held yourself out as husband and wife, if everybody thinks of y'all as being married, if you have joint bank accounts and so forth, you may be legally married. But even still, the spouse only takes half, and then so she needs a will. I mean, the best solution to this is she needs a will.
Okay.
The house is in mine and your name.
Yeah, the house is in both our names.
Oh, okay. Well, then is it with a joint tenancy with right of survivorship, or are you tenants in common? Sorry to use technical terms, but there's two ways to own property jointly. One is called with right of survivorship, so that if one person dies, then that person's share goes to the other person. That's the way you want your deed.
Yes, that's the way we want it.
And if you don't check your deed, and if it's written that way, then yes, whoever dies first, their part of it goes to the other person.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about anybody coming in and trying to take part of the house or whatever.
Absolutely. It passes outside the estate. You don't have to hire a lawyer. It just happens by operation of law. So just get your deed, check your deed, see if it has right of survivorship, you're in good shape. If you look at it and you have any questions, you can find me on the internet, and you just reach out to me in my law office, and I'll help you. This is a simple problem, but it's an important thing, and you need to get it right.
Okay.
So look for.
I sure appreciate
Jay,
I love the show.
Ron, Jay saying you're saying look for right of survivorship on the deed.
Yeah, joint tenancy with right of survivorship.
Okay.
That's when you're going to be looking for on the deed.
There you go, Ron.
And it's a great question. These are just the kind of questions I'm glad people call in with, because this is a very simple thing to fix. It's very cheap. But, man, if you don't have it right, it causes all kinds of problems, Ron. I really, really appreciate you calling.
Jay, 9511 writes in and says, how do I fix a court case that has no adjudication on it that was charged as a minor in another state 26 years ago? Boy, that seems... Sealing my minor records didn't change. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what he's saying. He had a case. This guy had a case 26 years ago. He was a minor. But sealing the case did not change the fact that it comes up on his background check.
Wow. Well, that is going to be really, really tough. I'd like to know what the other state is. I really need a lot more facts to help you with that one, sir. But I'm just going to be honest with you. Getting a conviction off your record from 26 years ago is not a simple task. I hate to say this, but I'm just going to tell it like it is. You're probably going to need a lawyer to help you do that. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to need a lawyer in the state where the conviction is on the record. That's not going to be simple.
Let's see. A couple of other questions from our membersnutrition.com super text line as soon as it loads up here. Jay, I bought a piece of property from my father years ago. He had a loan collateral on the property, which was fine at the time. Fast forward, the bank he had the loan with decided to sell the loan, and they want the money paid in full. Will the bank go after my father and his house first, or come after my property first?
It depends on is there a mortgage, right? I mean, when he took out a loan, he probably gave them some kind of collateral for that. And so was the collateral that he gave, did he give him a mortgage on his house? or did you give him a mortgage on this piece of property?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know what the loan documents say. There's probably a mortgage in connection with it, and we can't answer that question until we know what the mortgage is. If he mortgaged this property, then yeah, if the money's not paid, they're gonna come foreclose on this property. If he mortgaged his house, if he put up his house to get the loan, and it's not paid, then they're gonna go get his house.
Okay.
So we just have to know what the paperwork says.
Jay, question for Jay St. Clair. Hypothetically speaking, I always love it when they start this way.
I have a friend.
I'm a friend of a friend. Hypothetically, no, it gets better. This one does. Hypothetically speaking, if one should find themselves slightly rubbing up against another vehicle because they underestimated the proper turning radius and then waited for 10 minutes for said vehicle's driver to show up with no availability, so a note was left with a phone number stating that hypothetically that said vehicle rubbed up against theirs and transferred a little bit of paint, which hypothetically rubbed right off with some saliva and a thumb.
Right.
While placing the note on the windshield of said vehicle, owner shows up and agrees there's no damage. They're very laid back, and they don't give it another thought, hypothetically.
Okay.
When said driver of the other vehicle went home and told her husband, hypothetically, and I'm just reading it as it's written. There's a lot of hypotheticals in here.
I like this guy a lot.
Husband texted back that they need a picture of the front and back of our insurance card that paint had rubbed off down to metal. If, hypothetically speaking, the husbands of these two female drivers got into a texting argument where one husband is demanding proof of insurance and the other husband is saying, heck no, but please send pictures of said damage and we'll meet in person and settle up if damage actually exists. Mm-hmm. If hypothetically no police were summoned and there's no police report taken at the scene, however, this other husband has figured out from a phone number what insurance we have and has already had their insurance company reach out to us, hypothetically, should we worry about any of this in a legal sense?
You have so many hypothetical barriers, safety barriers surrounding you regarding your friend's hypothetical problem with the parked car. I would not worry about it because, I mean, here's the only thing that can happen. Right, they're going to turn it into their insurance company, and the insurance company is either going to reach out directly to you and say, hey, you owe us $500 or whatever. Or they're going to reach out to your insurance company. Well, if they reach out to you, you're just going to turn over to your insurance company. And it'll be two insurance companies talking to each other. It's not going to affect you at all. Your insurance company is not going to want to pay these people. So now I give this legal advice a lot to my clients. If I were you, I would worry more about getting hit by a meteor driving home tonight than I would about this hypothetical situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. 0397 wants to know if Kyle Busch listens to WTN. I have no idea what that means, but it's pretty funny. I don't know what that means. All right, and here's the one I'm going to end on, Jay. This is the last one for Jay St. Clair because we got to go to a break. Ben has written in and says, Jay, as a University of Georgia Bulldog fan, do we, and I assume he's including me in this, have to pay property taxes because we live inside the head of UT fans?
I expect that sort of thing from Florida fans. I think Florida fans are the worst.
Yeah,
They're
they
the
are.
Lowest class.
We agree with that.
They're the lowest class. So that's real funny.
Hey, y'all got a good team.
Is he in 8th grade or 10th?
Oh, we're low rent. Us Georgia, we get two little natties, and this is what we do, Jay. I mean, you can't put the class in UGA. Jay, you know how much I love you. Thank you, brother, for everything.
I love you, man.
Take care.
Hey, listen,
Hey,
we got to get back and recreate what we did over in that
oh my goodness gracious! I mean, if that had gone on for another night or two, I would have just stayed over there for the rest of. I mean,
Retired.
I would have retired on your. Do you use your left arm or your right? Do you use your left hand or your right hand?
No,
Jay?
right.
Right hand? Yeah, I would have retired on that right hand of yours.
Yeah, it was fun, buddy.
All right, take care, man.
Bye-bye.
See ya. There's Jay St. Clair, 153 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang in.